Okay, so I'm going to show y'all how to grease a Prusa Mark IVs, grease the bearings, that being the Z bearings, the extruder bearings on the x-axis, and the Y bearings under the build plate. You're going to want to gather needle nose. I think the only one you need is a 2.5 hex head. I like to use the ball heads. There's one step where you need the ball head. It makes life a lot easier. I think that's the only one you need, but if you do need more, I have a 2.0 and a 3.0 here. They should all be located in the Makerspace hex box, located somewhere in the prototype shop. You will also need the grease and a syringe, and I recommend wearing gloves because the grease gets everywhere. Also, some paper towels, just because why not? So make sure the printer's off when you do this. The first step is going to be to take these two pieces here off. So I'm just gonna break them real quick, break the screws out, and then use Colin's little fancy tool to make my life easier because I don't want to be filming for an hour. It does help to kind of have like the little organizer to keep all your screws in place, so I'm just going to use this roll of tape so that they can't fly off the table. So once you get those two screws out, you can, I so lied, there's 4 screws. Get in there and break that one. That one I can't get Colin's. I probably could, but take that out, drop it, and make sure you find it. Okay, so pull that up. If the rod comes with it, great. If it doesn't, no big deal. Pull it up. Like I said, no big deal if it doesn't. That screw stayed in that one, so it's okay. We'll just set those off to the side. It's actually probably better to take the rod out. So now I like to have the extruder sitting a little bit below the bar here so I can access the back plate. The next step is going to be to take this rod out. Sometimes they're a little stuck. You just kind of, you gotta force them up. It's okay. It's not gonna hurt it. Set them there. From there, you'll want to pop the covers off if the printer has the cover on it. Some of them don't, but most of them should. Pop the little covers off of both sides. Set them to the side. And then you'll want to take all 4 screws holding in the motor here off. So we'll just, once again, break the seal on those. And I'm going to use the electric screwdriver to take them off all the way. Without taking this off and letting it fall down, you can't actually pull this out to get this all the way off. And it just makes your life easier. Just that one. There you go, and there you go. So now I can pull this, turn the printer back on, go to Control, Move Axis, Move Z, and run it all the way up until it comes off. So there you go, it's off. Now, you can just kind of set that there. I just literally ran it all the way to 250, that's why it's still going. Now we can turn the printer back off. If the rods are dirty and kind of like right here, I can see a little bit of black in the grooves. That means that grease has actually got in there and we need to sonicate them. So in the Tim kitchen, we have this right here. Put a little bit of water in there, grab the tall graduated cylinder, fill this up with isopropyl, put it in there, and put it in there. The way you have to put it in there is a little weird. You kind of go in at an angle in the top of that, and then push it down to try to make sure there's no air in that bubble right there. And then you can just drop the rods in there face down, run them for 10-15 minutes, let all that grease get off, and then wipe them down with a paper towel. Not doing that right now because I don't care enough to do it. It's not that bad. So now we have access to this. What I would recommend as the next step, this back plate that I referred to earlier, you want to take this off. So pop that off. That probably has something to do with it. And now it comes off just fine. So from here, you have access to the back plate. What I like to do is just take one of these off. It's actually probably a good idea to detension the belt a little bit, which is over here, this screw. So you'll just loosen this screw a few turns, take some tension off that belt. Now it's rather floppy. That makes putting it back on there easier. So we'll take that off, and now you can actually, what I like to do is just, well, pull it tight, and now it pops off just like that. Pull that all the way out. Now you've got access to these bearings, which you already had, access to these bearings, which you already had, and access to these bearings, which you did not have before. So what I will do is, doing these is easier with a Q-tip. We don't have any Q-tips right now, so I'm just going to do it with my fingers. But let me take this off. Take that out. So any excess grease you're going to want to wipe off. Any grease that can just get into the printer in various places is bad. Just kind of take your finger, run it through there, get as much of, like I said, a Q-tip makes this part right here specifically a lot easier. But just try to get as much of that grease and that dirty grease and whatever else is in there, whether that be dust, filament, anything. This is not how Prusa recommends to grease the bearings. I don't like doing it their way. They recommend that you just take some grease, slab it on the rods, and run the bearings back and forth to get the grease in there. The bearings do a great job of not letting anything in there, including grease. They recommend you do it their way every 6 months. I recommend that you do it this way every year. And you're actually putting grease inside the bearings and getting everything greased up. So now what you'll do, take your syringe, you'll have to pack it with grease. This one's already pre-packed because Colin did a printer earlier today. You'll just shove it in there and push until it comes out the backside with grease. It's like you can see that is completely full of grease, that tube is. Now what you'll do, you'll take the push rod, the Z rod right there, and actually push all that excess grease out. Let me open this first so that I don't just push it everywhere. So you actually just push all the excess grease off. Do that. Now this is perfectly greased. Set it to the side. You're done with it for now until you reinstall it. Back to the same on this one. In cleaning it, just Q-tips are better, but we don't have any right now, so on your finger, get as much of that dirty grease off as possible. Get that in there. Do it from this side. There you go. Just like that. Those two bearings are done. Now, we set those off to the side. This is why wearing gloves is great, because you get grease everywhere. Now I have to repack this with grease because it's almost empty. which is a fun process. Sometimes if you're careless, you do put a little bit of dirty grease back in the container. We try to avoid that at all costs because we don't want to, I mean, like the grease I pushed back in there was, there's no, like that's the strip that I did. There's no dirt in that. That's perfectly fine. So you're going to want to hand pack it. You'll just load it up and then just continue to push more in there. You don't have to fill it up, but you do need a good chunk in there just because you put so much in there and then you push so much out and it goes back in the container. So just hand packing it pretty full is a good idea. So I'm going to say that's good for now. It's probably 2/3 to 3/4 of the way full. I'm going to set that off to the side and wipe as much of the excess grease back into the container as possible. Once again, gloves. That's probably good enough. I'm going to take this paper towel and now let me get another paper towel. So just push that back in till you get some to come out, and then just take your paper towel. This is a messy process, gloves, but at least you can try to be as neat as possible. Change this glove. So the reason I'm changing my glove now is because I'm dealing with the extruder and the board is exposed there. So I don't want to get, I've already got a little bit of grease on there just from taking it off. I don't want to get any more on there. So what I'll do with my clean glove, grab it, and then so we see that there's the one there and there's actually two in here, but they're pushed together in the same way that these are. So with this one, what we'll do is we'll take this one out, set it off to the side, and then do this one and fill it same exact way you do the other ones until it comes out the back side. There it goes. With it, you can't use these push rods, the ones from earlier, because they're a different diameter. So you have to take one out of the X assembly. We used to have a spare set of them. I don't really know where they went. But same thing. Just push out the excess, wipe it off. Perfect. And same thing with this one. We'll just fill it up. Rod, push. Perfect. Now, I did get a little bit of grease on the outside, like around the rim. Just wipe it off. Not a big deal if you don't, but then you start getting grease all over the inside of that, the extruder assembly, and we don't want that. So take that, put that back in there, and then from there we can start reassembling that. So there's a little bit of filament and whatnot around the extruder bearings, so just wipe that off. Now we can start reassembling that. I don't know where that nut came out of. Hope it wasn't important. Put the extruder on, because the printer won't work without that, will it? So run that through there. Now we can pick up where we were, put everything back on. There we go. So now that bearing kind of has a groove that it fits in right there. Now you can pick that up. attempt to put everything back where it goes. Like that. Okay, so now I will turn the printer back on. Take your glove off. Go down to control, move axis, move Z, and then it is currently ran all the way down by default, so we're just gonna crank it up a little bit and then set it on there and run it down. So as you can see, they're not perfectly even right now. That's fine for now. We just have to come back to that and make sure that we fix that problem. So I'm gonna turn it back off. Turn it back off, and then you can actually manually jog these down just to get it to where I can work on the back panel again. And this is just reassembly. So I'm taking the belt. So to do the belt, just refeed it through there. And then let me come around to the other side. Refeed it over and then back under the pulley. And then it goes, there's a channel it goes through in the extruder print. Through there, back to the other side. Through there. All the way through. And on this side it's got the geared pulley. You work it over the top of that, push it back through. And then this is the important part. Remember, we detensioned this, so it should be able to pull slightly and just slide in there. And it just slides in this groove right there. It's a grooved belt, so it fits in there. And notice this is pretty loose. We'll fix that with the tensioning over here. But now we can install the back plate. Make sure everything's good, that bearing's in place. Snap that on there. Let's go with the proper screws. I bet that's what it is. That nut fell out of there somewhere. Oh well, not a big deal. That one goes there. And that one there. Let me go ahead and get these in there. That one lost its nut, so not worried about it. I'm not sure what's going on there, so I'll deal with that later. But now you are essentially done with the, other than that screw, essentially done with this. You have to put the rods back in, so I'm out of gloves, but oh well. Just grab the rod, wipe it down with a paper towel. Try to wipe any excess grease off of it because you don't want a bunch of grease in there. You also don't really want your hand oils on it, so if you do not use a glove, grab it with the paper towel and run it back through there and into, you can touch the top, that's perfectly fine, until it fits back into its place. So now we can get the motors back in place. You don't want to over tighten them, but you don't want to under tighten them. There's a rubber gasket in there that helps form a nice little seal. This is one reason I prefer using the ball head for this, is so I don't have to take a straight angle. I can I can actually angle the tool while I'm using it. So now these bearings are greased. All we have left is the Y axis. We do put these back on there, the covers. So I'm noticing that they're not lined up parallel, like it kind of kicks over and over. That's probably because they're at different heights, but well, yeah, that's probably what it is. So we'll go ahead and fix that. Turn the printer on. Slide that out of the way a little bit. You can also go ahead and tension the X belt. So just reach back here, find that same screw you loosened earlier and tighten it until you get to a proper tension on that. Which I'm not. Okay. So I'm just gonna run the Z all the way up. Let me put this back on first. So we will now turn it off, and you can kind of see where the lead screws are in the little screw. So we'll just jog them all the way to the top by hand. Get it to where the lead screw here is flush with the top, and then do the same on this side. And then turn the printer on. Now that they're even, they should be parallel, and you can run it down and shouldn't have any problems. So move Z, and of course it's at 0 because it defaults to 0, so why wouldn't it? Okay, so we'll just do this again. See, that's exactly what the problem is. It's not, yeah. So it's running this one, but not this one for some reason. Probably because this is right there. Now I'm gonna run it down, not worry that they're misaligned right now. I'll fix that by hand here in a second. Okay, so now I'll turn it off and just kind of look at it, and I can tell this side's higher. Grab a paper towel. I can tell this side's higher, so I'm gonna jog it down and then like, okay, so it's right there. It's still a little bit higher. Okay, that should be even. Now we can put these back on. There we go. Now that's lining up with the hole. Perfect. So we'll go ahead and get this other side in there. Make sure both sides are in and aligned. Perfect. And then we will get the last 2 screws in there. Okay, so those are back on. Now onto the y-axis. So we'll flip the printer back on. This will also allow us to better align these properly. Once it comes back on, we'll just run the z-axis all the way up till it tries to come off. So, just crank it all the way up to 250 or whatever, 220. Perfect. Now you can run it down a little bit. And they're aligned. Probably not the best way to do that, but oh well. Now turn it back off. It's probably good to unplug it here just because we need to flip it and be able to access the bottom side. I like to flip it on its side so we don't mess up any, like this cord right here. But we need to get this belt off, which is accessed by this right here, and then eventually get the bed off itself. So we'll come here, and this screw right here, you'll loosen that, and then you'll be able to take this screw out, which will completely detension the Y belt, and then you'll just be able to pop the Y belt off in the same way we pop the X belt off. So loosen that, and then loosen that. Now we see how loose that is, so we can just well, I say that. No, just take it off. Oh well. Okay, so now you can flip it back upright. I forgot about this screw that actually holds the belt in place. So you'll loosen that as well. And then at some point, you can take the belt off. So now what we need to do is take the rods off. So you loosen 4 screws here, each one front and back on each rod, the little plastic piece that holds it to the frame. And then on the front, what you can do is take these 4 off that hold those plastic pieces to the frame. Now come back to the back, loosen these again. So now you should be able to pick up, well, let's get these 4 all the way out. Now you can pick up on that and just kind of slide that. Make sure you keep track of the plastic pieces wherever the second one went. This also may fall out of the holder right there. Just make sure you don't lose that. Where did that second plastic piece go? Oh, it's under there. So now, in the same manner that we greased them before, take your syringe. I like to put my finger on the back side of the bearing. You don't have to take the bearings out. I just like to put my finger right there with the hole exposed on the top side. That way when grease does come out, you can see it coming out, but it doesn't go down with gravity, because you don't want it to get all over that. Wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if it did, but you don't want it to, because that's just more you have to clean. Okay, so it's kind of shooting back out this way now, which is fine. So now you'll just want to take one of the rods and just pull it out like that, wipe it off with a paper towel, and then push it and wipe it with your finger. Put that back in the tub. And now repeat with the other two bearings. So with these, you can fill them both at the same time. Okay, so it's coming out this side now, that's fine. On these, it's a little difficult to get the syringe actually in them because you're not taking them out, so you can't get it flush with it. So just once it starts coming out either side, you're good. And then you can fill them both and push them both at the same time. Just make sure that when you push the first one that you do wipe the grease off as best as you can before pushing it in the second one and it falling down into the frame. And just take that off, wipe it, and there you go. Now you have greased all the bearings and it's just reassembling the axis. So that's on there. Okay. So now to flip this, now make sure that you put this back in. It just kind of, it's a weird way to see it, but it just kind of, the pin sits in there like that. Make sure that you're good. And it goes in and then falls into a little groove right there so that it stays in place more or less. And then you can flip everything back over. Put your belt to the back. Make sure that your belt is in the proper direction. Run it through the pulley on the back side, making sure that the teeth are in the correct direction, which right now they're not because this got flipped around because it got loose. Okay, so run that to the back. Now we can reinstall these. Thank you. Great. So now we'll slide this forward.
Could you tighten those ends?
Great idea. There we go. Okay. So now you can feed this. Put this right there. Let me reinstall this one first, I guess. Okay, so yeah, we are gonna go ahead and feed this through. Okay, there we go. So now I can get this back so I can prop up the bed a little higher. Now I can loop this through the pulley on the back, around, grab it there, pull it up. There we go. Now I can reinstall this. It'll go in like that, so it'll go. Just make sure you pop your belt in with enough room to be able to work it. Get it in there, and then you can screw that back down to tighten it. Watch me have to redo this because I put it too tight on there. Okay, so you get that nice and tight. Then we'll want to take this screw, put it in that slot. Some of these parts I wish would be designed a little bit different. Give me enough room to get my screw and a screwdriver in there. Okay, so that's in there. Get my finger there to hold it. So now I'm gonna push that screw down. Tighten if it doesn't fall out. Good gosh. Okay, so let's pick it up and set it like that. So now you'll want to get that one started just a little bit and then run the longer one through there. Go ahead and start tightening it into the nut that it sits into. This is where a ball head screwdriver comes into play very nicely, because I could not be doing this with a regular one. So that's good tension. So now we can finalize screwing that down to lock it in place. So you should now be all done. All bearings are greased. The printer is fully reassembled. Some last steps. Excess grease around here. I like to take a fresh paper towel and wipe that off. Same down at the bottom if there's any. Around this side there's some. Over here there's some. On those rods. If you did get any on the screws, just wipe it off. Inevitably you will get some on the build plate. Paper towel, isopropyl alcohol, wipe that off good. Definitely would recommend going back through the calibration process, recalibrating the printer, printing a benchy just to test everything. But with that, you should be good. Put your covers back on. And that is how you grease a Prusa Mark 4S, Mark 4, Mark 4S. Practically the same process with the Mark 3. A few different steps just because of the different printer model, but essentially the same process. You should be able to follow this guide to do either a Mark 3 or a Mark 4. But that's all I got.